This is the freeze build-up mechanics, and it's incredible in PoE 2. Everything can get frozen thanks to this build-up systems, including bosses. That's crazy. And this is the new armor breaking debuff. And when the boss is armor broken, you consume the broken armor with a sniper shot. I'm not sure how that works, but that's pretty cool. Hey guys, welcome back. That was some early game footage from the newest security video regarding the Mercenary class, and I think that's pretty cool. In this video, I'll be sharing my early impressions of the class, outlining my plans, theory crafting some ideas for my league starter. And I want to emphasize that this for both new and veteran pathofexile players is that PoE 2 is a completely new game and you only get to experience it once. So take your time, enjoy it at your own pace, and do not feel pressure to tackle everything with a plan or follows others just because you're afraid of making a mistake. This is a brand new game after all, and the most enjoyable aspect will be exploring everything when no one has all the answer yet. I truly believe this will be the ARPG of the century, as GGG has proven to be the GOAT, and if you're unsure about diving in, just remember that the $30 you spent in this free game will give you $30 back in credit to use for stash and microtransactions. Ask me or any PoE players and they will say it's definitely worth it for you if you're a brand new player wanting to try out Path of Exile. After looking through all the skills, support, and the new Spirit Gem systems in Path of Exile 2, I have a rough idea on what my plans are for the campaign. At the beginning of the games, the Mercenary will receive a basic skill gems for the beach called Fragmentation Rounds. Now, the skills is designated to help us get accustomed to the WASD movement, along with the new shootings and reloading mechanics. It's a straightforward skills that perform a frontal cone attack, and the descriptions of the gems indicates that multiple bolts from a single burst can hit the same target, which implies that this skill can effectively shotgun its damage. Now, if you don't know, in PoE, the mechanics of shotgunnings and overlapping hits are generally very powerful and are considered excellent multipliers for your overall damage output. In the early game, for a build like this, it's really important for you to prioritize a higher damage base weapon. Now, what this means is that you should consistently pick up and use any crossbow with higher base damage, and additionally, you should use the crafting systems to upgrade your weapon. To be specific, you can sell rare items to build up the regal currency, and then you can use Exalted Orc to add more mods to your weapon. Weapons should be the main focus in your early game. Sooner or later, you will find uncut gems, and I think in the very first town you'll get one as well, and there are many options available. Now, my recommendation, at least for the very first one, should be Perma Frostbolt, and this is particularly strong when pairing with our Fragmentation round. As you can see here, there's special interactions when hitting a frozen enemy, and the bolts will shatter the frozen enemy and cause an explosion of shrapnel that deals 300% more damage. I'm not sure if that's the actual initial hits or the explosion, but either way, this should be really good straight out of the gates for both AoE and single target damage. Now, our bolt can actually shotgun, so if a boss gets frozen by our permafrost bolt, and we use Fragmentation route, he could get hit multiple times, and yeah, that's pretty good. So in comparison to the other early game contenders like grenades, I think Permafrostbolt are just superiors because they have shorter cooldowns, they are instant hit abilities, and sure feels pretty smooth to play. Anyway, so I found this website called PoE 2 Skills, and it looks pretty useful to help visualize the setup, so let's talk about it. So there are actually two early game setups that I would like to test out, and both of them will be element based. And so the passive tree will be quite similar to each other, and I'll go through it as we go. For the first setup, it works very early on, pretty much out of the gates. The basics is using Permafrostbolt to build a freeze, then Fragmentation round to consume the freeze to deal massive amount of physical damage and trigger the bleed. So this will be a bleed base. The ailment in PoE 2 was changed such that now it works based on the initial hit pre-mitigation, so you want it to be a big hit, hence the reason for the setup. And the fragmentations will have bleed chance, brutality for some more physical damage, deep cuts for bleed support, and I'll add multi-proj and chain support later for some overlapping and shotgunning effects. For Permafrostbolt, you want to take added cold damage, glaciations, hypothermia for like a fast freeze buildup, and then later on you'll take ammo conservations and frost nexus for the more crowd control. Since we are constantly freezing and shattering, Herald of Ice will be a great choice for clears, and if you need more defensive tools, you can use Arctic Armor. Now, Glacial Bolts create Wall of Ice with double barrel for double shots, and fragmentation round breakdowns for more shotgunning, more overlapping effects if possible. At least that's what I thought. Anyway, so that's the first setup. Alright, so the second setups I think is quite fun, and maybe it will come on later in the game, but basically we have Permafrostbolt here. It's the same setup to basically freeze the enemy. Then we'll use high velocity around here to actually have poison chance here to deliver the poison after the biting frost here with consume the enemy to guarantee a critical hit, so make the initial hit very strong. With the poison chance, you definitely deliver the poison. Then we have Bursting Plague to do poison explosions and added chaos damage. Now, for single target, we'll add the armor piercing round as well to break the armor, freeze the enemy, then hit them with the high velocity round. And for AoE packs, we'll have Contagions. And later on, when you have meta gems, cast on freeze, Contagions, easily hit them with the velocity round, much better. Contagion spread, it plays like ED Contagion build from PoE 1. And we have Dark Effigy here, more withering touch support. You can have moderation here, and the +1 totem if you want. Blasphemy, Temporal Chain, Mana Remnant. But yeah, I think this setup will be quite fun to play. I really can't wait to try it out. So anyway, let's talk about the passive trees. Since there's actually a note that at 80% critical damage, which is really good with Biting Frost. So for the passive tree, and by the way, this website, I'll put a link in the description. It has the whole passive trees on all the notes we know. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Remoteless here. I think I'll path this way. Get remoteless for projectile damage. Pretty good early games. Then I'll path here. This note is actually ricochet. I'll put the description on the screens as this was revealed in Ziggity video today. And Expose Wound here, pretty good. Infecting Elements. I'm not sure about the wording of this, but we'll see on early access. But lighting, yeah, if early game we're playing bleeding, then this is pretty good for bleed. We can respec out later when we swap to the poison setup. And you path down here a little bit, you'll get this note. This note is pretty good. I mean, if you kill recently, you get move speed, and in PoE, if it works the same as PoE 1, it means kill recently mean in the last 4 seconds. So you'll get a 4-second 4% movement speed buff. We don't really care about attack speed, so yeah. It's only 2 note though, so that's still pretty good in my book. There's advanced munition and shrapnel here, also pretty good. If we're playing the bleeds and build, this is where I think you can stack all those chain from terrains and create ice wall for a lot of overlappings and shotgunning. So we'll have to see. And we have bleeding out here for bleed notes. The notes down here is quite good as well. We have reusable ammunitions. So this is a 25% chance for crossbow attack not to consume a bolt. And if we have only 1 bullet, right? So this is really good in my opinion. Then power shot. This is what I was talking about. This the 80% increased critical damage. And if we have a guaranteed crit, then our poison will crit for a lot of damage, and that will, I'm sure, will have tons of poison damage. So yeah, there's a lot of potential there. Giant Slayer, increase hit. So this will help our single targets. And again, I value single targets in the campaign very high, so this will definitely be a really good note. And so there's a lot of note to trouble down here. Freeze build up might be good, but since we're only really doing freeze and no shock, no ignite, so I'm not sure if it's worth taking and pathing all the way here, and unless the small notes are really good. But yeah, that's pretty much the for the offensive scaling. We can take these notes. Now let's talk about the defensive. Alright, so for the defensive layer, let me talk a little bit on the debate between the defensive layer of HP, armor, evasion shell versus the energy shield and mana. And I would say this because we don't really have any information right now, and it's definitely not conclusive on this topic. But since we are in this part of the tree, it's just logical that we don't really path up and get energy shield and mana. But I don't think life and armor evasion will sucks anyway. So there's that. There's a lot of way to scale, and well, one of the way that I'll look to do it is probably Iron Reflex, right? So I'll convert all my evasion into armor, and with armor there are some interesting notes that I could take to further enhance my defense, which is, so first there's this one, increase muscle life as armor, so we're converting all evasion, so we're not evading, and we get this as armor. Then you can take some of these notes here, like right in the beginning. Feel no pain, 20% armor and evasion. Butter harden, reduce critical damage bonus, right? So, and then armor and evasion plus strength plus dex is really good. Let me see. I think over here you so you go down here, path over here. There's some really good armor note here. So this one, Blade Catcher, defense with 200% ammo against critical hit, especially it makes you probably with enough hour immune to critical hit, really. And we have this increase, 25% increase ammo, and remember that the more armor we stack, the more maximum life we get as well, so this could be really strong early in the campaign. So we have this regenerate 1.5% life per second when moving, and we are always moving because we're playing crossbow. Relentless, pretty good. We another 1% life regen per second with another ammo stacks, and 80% armor from equipped armor body, right? So we are around 83 point here, and because I'm thinking I'm gonna take the weapon master. So right now that's the tree for me, and maybe some way I'll path over here as well. There's some really good life recovery notes that I can take, and levitation could be a really good ground effect evasion as well. Another thing I want to talk about is bulwark. So this note is basically makes that your dodge roll cannot avoid attack. However, you take 30% less damage from hits when dodge rolling. And what this means is that for the whole durations of the dodge rolling, you take less damage. And really, I just don't think later in the game I want to be dodging all the attacks, right? It's just inconvenient. And this is a 30% flat damage reduction. So it's really good when you need it. And since we're stacking a lot of armor anyway, we can take those hits, hopefully, if, you know, the calculation works out. Because, again, we don't know what is the calculation for armor, HP, and evasion will be like. And yeah, so this node, foolproof really. From what I see, PoE 2 doesn't have a lot of chip damage, and mostly will have like telegraph boss attack. So if you can't dodge it, just, you know, roll, tank it. That's pretty much, yeah, how how my defensive layers are gonna be tackle. And there are a lot of small note here that we don't know what they do, and they, you know, they could gain a lot of you could gain a lot of evasion and armor from all these notes. So definitely worth taking a look at, and we'll probably change the pathing a little bit when you actually see the real skill tree, right? Well, I think there are a lot more nuance to talk about. I just don't have all the information right now, so I'm not going to talk about it. But for example, like Leech, I think Leech is really strong. It just doesn't fit the playstyle, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to pivot to if the ammo stacking, life stacking shell doesn't really work out. But we'll have to figure it out when early access actually start. And, you know, there are things like we freeze a lot, and that itself is a form of defensive layer since we reduce the monster action speed to 0, right, when we freeze them. The poison setup also opened up a lot of options for the ascendancy point as well, since we don't really need call and reverse call with that. Decimating strike, right? It was really strong, but if we go with the poison setup, we don't need that. Then we have option to spec into sorcery word, and physical damage mitigation will be from our armors, and elemental hits will be mitigated with the sorcery ward. So that could be a really strong defensive layers. Then we could spec into concentrations to help us with the single target damage, because the Contagion itself already is gonna be clearing map easily, right? With explosion and Contagions, we shouldn't have any problem with mapping. But yeah, that's about it. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.